Well, good morning. Welcome back to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. This is Sandi, and one of the things we love at our house is pumpkin pie. Now, I've been growing a whole bunch of different types of pumpkins over at the garden, and we're going to go over there and pick one of those pumpkins so that we can make our pumpkin pie with them. I'm going to add a vanilla bean in with the mix. We're also going to make whipped cream with heavy cream, actually off of raw milk. And it's going to have a vanilla bean in it also. And I'm going to just show you that whole process. And I love that extra taste that the vanilla bean gives us. So first, let's put a vanilla bean in some heavy cream. And then we're going to go over to the garden. And you're going to help me pick out a pumpkin. And we're going to go through the whole process of opening the pumpkin up, roasting the pumpkin, and making it ready to make a fabulous pumpkin pie. Now, there's a type of pumpkin I grow that's a French pumpkin that has a lot of what they call warts on them. That aren't really warts, but they have bumps. And it has to be by far my favorite pumpkin to make pumpkin pie. But I'm going to show you some of the other pumpkins that make a spectacular pie too that you can grow in your garden. This is raw milk that I get at a store downtown. And if you look carefully, see how there's a change in the color and texture? This is the cream up here on both of the jars. And so I'm going to take a small ladle spoon and scoop that off. Let me see if I get closer, if you can see how textural it is versus regular milk. Now you can just shake these up and just drink it, but I want to use it for the whipped cream. This is just one of my regular spoons. I put it in Joe's vise and I bent the handle so that I can pick up the cream and pour it. So then I'm not mixing the milk, I'm just grabbing that cream off of there. Now, does it look as thick as heavy cream that you buy in the store? No, but it will whip up just beautifully. Now here we have some vanilla beans that I had vacuum sealed. Honestly, I think these are probably 2 years old. So, though they're vacuum sealed, they will be harder. They won't be soft like they were before. And so you can either use a knife, and usually when I package them, I do them in sets of 5, sets of 10, sometimes 25. And you can use a knife, or you can just break them. I'm just going to break them. It makes them easier. Inside are the vanilla bean are their little seeds, and you can either just dump them right in there and those beans will get softer and I can cut them open, or I can just break them open right now. And let me show you if I can make it so that you can see some of those seeds in there. It's a little difficult with the camera, but let me use a knife, and those are the seeds inside of a vanilla bean. I love that. If you didn't want that in your whipped cream, when I go to strain that, you could strain it through butter muslin, a couple layers of cheesecloth, and you would not only get the bean, but you would get the seeds out of there too. But I like those little flecks in the whipped cream. I think it's very attractive. And so I'm just going to put all of those in there. You can see some of that, and I will stir that every so often through the day. You can do it the night before, and it just gives you more and more vanilla flavor in there. And of course, I'm going to put some saran wrap and put it in the fridge until I'm ready with the pie. Let's go jump in my garden truck. It's a little Ford Ranger. I love it because I can just pile whatever crap I have from the garden in the back. Who doesn't love pumpkin pie? I'm so excited to pick a good pumpkin out for our recipe today. We're in the community garden, and you can see a lot of the plots. People have pulled their stuff out, their onions, their pumpkins, potatoes, anything. There's my crazy sunflowers. And there's different pumpkins. They've come out of my plot, and you can see the leaves are all dying back. Our nights have been cooler. We haven't had any frost, but they definitely have been cooler. But you can see, oh, that's a big one. It's kind of hard to tell from the camera, but it is really big. It's kind of a Cinderella pumpkin-like. And there's a Boston Marrow. There's another big one. These aren't the ones I'm going to pick, though. Not for today. I mean, I am going to bring some of them home. Now, this is my big filled pumpkin. It would be what, like a Dickinson squash. That's what Libby uses for their pumpkins. And there's another big pumpkin over there. There's pumpkins that are green still. There's pumpkins that are all the way ready for me to cut. And so I'm going to use different ones of that. I have a few left on the trellis. And they're just scattered all over the pumpkin garden. And let's see if we can find, oh, there's a big white one. And see that green one down there? That's actually a Thai pumpkin. And so those are just good as can be. You can do so many things. I'm actually going to dehydrate a bunch of pumpkins. But let's go find that one that, oh, there's a big green one. The one that I'm going to use for today for the pie. Now, it's a French pumpkin. And look at those warts on there. Isn't that just the craziest looking pumpkin? And it is by far the best pumpkin for pumpkin pie that I have ever grown. Look at the stalk on that trunk on there. It's crazy. So I am going to have to trim that off. I'll be careful so I'm not disturbing any of the vine. But it's massive. And so we are going to start with that pumpkin. I picked a few other pumpkins and squashes to take home, though there's still lots of them in the garden. But I'll cook these up, put them in the freezer, so I can have pie whenever I need it. So here's my pumpkin that I'm going to use. And I'm going to first try to break that stem off. I never take the stem off until I'm going to use them. If these get broken, you need to use those pumpkins first, because no matter what, they are going to rot first. And we will just start trying to get that in there. Now, this is a French pumpkin. I'll put the name right now. Some of them will make the warts a lot. Other ones, not as much warts. And it just depends on the given year and the pumpkin. I have a couple other in the garden that they don't have very many warts at all. That's perfect. So there we are. Now, any of these seeds that I cut, I can't save. But the other ones I will save. And we'll see how many I get out of there. But let's find a regular one. See, it's a good size. So I'm going to scoop that out. If you'd like to have some of these pumpkins, put it in the comments below. I did a quick rinse. There's about a half an inch, third of an inch of water in there. And the oven is heated up already at 350. A little bit of aluminum foil on top, loosely, just to help with that steam. All this pulp that was in between and any seeds that were cut, feed to your chickens, give to your dogs, put them in your compost. I am going to rinse off all of these. There's always so many. I'm going to save some. I'll give some away if any of you guys want some. And you can always roast your pumpkin seeds. The natives used to dry this extra pulp in the seeds, even if they were cut. They'd dry it all, grind it up with rocks, and put it in their drinks. Very nutritious. I will just let these dry. By tomorrow, I'll be able to just break off, see these little bits of pumpkin? When it gets a little bit drier, they don't have that kind of sticky, almost slimy kind of stuff on them. And I'll be able to just pull that off really easy without damaging any of the pumpkin seeds. Now, our pumpkins are going to stay in the oven. I'll check them every half hour until they are soft. I'm just checking to see how done they are. Still in the back, not quite. I think another 15 minutes and they'll be ready to come out of the oven. So I have the pumpkin out. It's extremely hot. So it's just on the cutting board, and I am just going to let that cool for a while before I scoop it all out. So I'm scooping out my pumpkins, but as you see, I get down in here, and this part's not done yet. So I am going to put these two parts back in the oven. Found a few more seeds. And then over here in my Vitamix is all of the pumpkin that I took out. So I'm going to blend that up. It's loud and it's blending. The blender, the Vitamix, was going for about 30 seconds. And it has just blended it up beautiful. But that is a lot of pumpkin pie. Now Joe says, make sure you tell them that I'm so glad you're back on YouTube so you can make me things. Like he didn't get any pie when I was off of YouTube for 30 days. It's absolutely beautiful. It's still pretty warm, but I can still make the pie. What are we putting in our pie? 2 cups of pumpkin, 3/4 cup of milk, and I'm using raw milk, but any kind of whole milk will work. 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 farm fresh eggs if you can get them, just under 1/2 tablespoon of vanilla, and that's homemade vanilla. So we have a heaping tablespoon of cinnamon and 1/2 teaspoon of each ginger and cloves. A lot of people put nutmeg, but I don't really care for nutmeg. I think it can be too overpowering in a pie. So we're going to mix those all together. Now I'm just going to pour my pumpkin batter right into my pie. I don't want my crust to burn, so I'm just doing a ring of aluminum foil. Now you guys know I don't like using aluminum foil, but for something like this, and it's only on for part of the time it's cooking, I'm okay with it. So I just made a few strips, hooked them together, folded them in half, and then hooked it together so I could put it in. And that way the crust won't get browner than I want it to. It's going in at 350 degree oven. It'll take about 45 minutes to an hour. So I have 4 of these quart bags. This one's cooling, so I just have it balanced in here so these 2 don't tip over. The other 2 are already in the freezer so that I can make multiple pumpkin pies from that one pumpkin. Here the pie's just out of the oven. I'm going to let it cool for just a little bit. I did move it a little bit when I put it in, so I got some pumpkin over on that side, but you can tell that the crust didn't get too brown, and that's always one of my goals. Now we're ready for the cream. So I don't want the actual vanilla bean to be in there, and so I'm just pouring that. All these little seeds I don't mind, but I don't want the actual bean to be in there. So these I'll discard. If I was doing something that was not milk related, I would use those. Okay, and see how the solids are just going to collect right there? Now, so we basically have a cup, just over a cup, and I need a hefty tablespoon of powdered sugar. So it's just a little bit more than a tablespoon. And we're going to mix those together. You can do them by hand, but I'm actually going to do it in the mixer. So the powdered sugar is mixing with the heavy cream. So let's make it a little faster. So it's been about 3 minutes. It's starting to get soft peaks. I'm just going to do it a couple more minutes and it'll be ready. Look at that beautiful whipped cream. And if you look close, you can see the specks of the vanilla bean. Yum! So here we have Joe's pie. It's still warm. It isn't all the way cool. I like mine cold. But we can see how what he thinks about it. So Joe's going to taste test. You know Joe and the taste testing. So a little bit of pie, a little bit of whipped cream, and we'll see what he thinks.
I'm sure glad you make movies again, baby. I'm starving. Try to buy it by itself. That's really good. That's good and flavorful.
Good and flavorful. That's what we want to hear.